So I am the chairman and CEO of Founderspace. We started Founderspace over a decade ago. We were one of the earlier startup accelerators here in San Francisco, and we have grown over the years. So today we have over 50 partners in 22 countries. If any of you are from China, we have our Founderspace incubators in cities like Hangzhou, Shenzhen, Nanjing, Wuhan, Xi'an. And I travel a lot all over Asia. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs in South Korea, and I work with the South Korean government. I work in Taiwan, Malaysia, and I work all across Europe. So it's a very international organization. We're really focused on helping early stage startups be successful. So if you have a company, typically there are different ways you can engage with Founderspace. If you're super early stage in the idea stage, you can just come to our website and access all our resources. If you are later stage and you actually have a product in development or already launched and a team, that's when we can step in with capital, with relationships, with our accelerator programs, but you have to be a little more mature for that. Okay. So with Founderspace, you can see on the map all the different places that we operate. I used to spend, before COVID, 70% of my time traveling. So I love traveling. I love working with entrepreneurs in all sorts of different environments, because around the world, there are different technology stacks, different ways of doing business, different relationships. And I see a lot of the value I offer entrepreneurs is a way not only to enter the Silicon Valley market, but also to connect with different markets abroad and actually take your products into those markets, whether it's entering the Chinese market, the EU market, Japan, or so on. Now, as they mentioned, Founderspace was ranked the #1 startup accelerator for overseas startups by both Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine, and Inc. put us in the top 10 overall. And I am also author of 3 books. You may know of these. They've done quite well. The first one is Make Elephants Fly, which is all about the process of radical innovation. So the elephant is your big idea. And in Make Elephants Fly, I talk about how you take that big idea and get it off the ground. So later, if you have questions about innovating, how you start a company, how you go from that idea to the product stage, to the launch stage, I know a lot about that, and I can help you with that. My second book, which was published recently by HarperCollins, is Surviving a Startup. Now, surviving a startup basically gives you everything that I have learned doing my own startups and working with hundreds of entrepreneurs that you need to know to kind of overcome those roadblocks that are keeping you from being successful. You know, and as all of us know, doing a startup is super risky. Most startups fail, but the startups that succeed do have certain things in common. And I have identified those, and I lay out exactly what you should be doing in terms of launching your product, developing your product, raising capital, marketing, all those key things. And then also the things that you need to be aware of, the pitfalls that a lot of entrepreneurs don't see, especially first-time entrepreneurs, that you're going to stumble into, and ways for you to avoid those. So you might as well learn from other people's mistakes and go ahead and make new mistakes of your own. Now, my third book, which just came out, it's brand new, is The 5 Forces That Change Everything. And this book talks about how technology is reshaping our world. And you can also ask me questions about this too, because right now we are at a point in history where new fundamental technologies are poised to radically change how we live our lives, how we do business, how governments run, how economies run. And these technologies include AI, advanced AI, when you get into artificial general intelligence and machines that approach consciousness and conscious decision-making, talking about gene editing, CRISPR, the new genetic editing revolution, and all the startups that will come out of that, and all the technology changes that will happen now that we can recode life on Earth. We can literally create new species of plants and animals, cure diseases, extend life. All of this technology is coming into being as we speak. I also go very deep into brain-computer interfaces. What happens when we embed chips in our brain or have non-invasive devices actually that we can just put on our head like a band across our forehead that can begin to read our thoughts and actually connect our brains directly to the internet? How will this change things? What will it mean when we have our minds actually not just connected to the internet and all the information out there, but connected to one another? I also go deep on nanotechnology and space technology and where those are taking us. So if you're interested in really how technology is reshaping the world and will reshape the world in the coming decades, that's the book for you. So today, I'm going to speak about startup minds, the mindset that you need as an entrepreneur to be successful, and the things that you need to do. So first of all, we've all heard about unicorn thinking, what it takes to make a unicorn. So a lot of entrepreneurs out there, I know, aren't ever going to have a unicorn, and that is fine. So some of you out there will start small businesses. You may start medium-sized businesses, and you can do extremely well without taking in any venture capital and without growing a large company. So I know entrepreneurs who are pulling in 7 figures, running a business literally out of their home as a solo entrepreneur. So I don't tell everybody, and not every idea is right to become a unicorn. However, if you want to become a unicorn, you do have to do certain things in order to be successful. Now, the big difference is, I would say over 95% of ideas out there in the world will never, ever even come close to achieving unicorn status, which means a company with a valuation of $1 billion or more. So for example, any small business, any restaurant you run, any corner store you run, any consulting practice you have, those generally will not become unicorns. In order to become a unicorn, you need to figure out how to scale your business. By scaling, I mean, how do you take a business idea and actually extend it out there so that you can reach a large market, a multi-billion-dollar market? If you don't have a path to doing this, you are simply not on the road to becoming a unicorn. And there's no point, honestly, in going out and raising venture capital. Because venture capital, especially the type of capital we see in Silicon Valley today, will not invest in any business that doesn't have the potential to be a unicorn. And let me explain this. So a lot of people would come to a venture capitalist and they might say to the venture capitalist, I have a business now. If you put in $1 million to my business, in 5 years, I guarantee you will get 10 million back. That's a 10x return. Will you invest in my business? I will tell you, almost every venture capitalist out there will tell you, no, I will not invest in your business. And the larger the fund, the less likely they are to invest. Now you may ask yourself, I just promised this person, I showed them that I can make them a 10x return, 10 times their money in 5 years or less. Why wouldn't they give me $1 million? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it actually does make sense. So what you have to understand when you're going out to raise capital, when you're going out to start a business, is number one, venture capitalists need to get a return on their investment, not just for $1 million, but most venture capitalists, they are looking to place tens of millions of dollars, potentially even hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you tell a venture capitalist, yes, you put in $1 million, you get back 10 million. If you have a venture fund, let's say that's $500 million, a $500 million venture fund, a $10 million return is nothing. It won't move the dial on their fund. If they're going to produce out of their $500 million fund, if they're going to produce a 10x return, they're going to need companies that are unicorns to give them the type of return that they need to actually justify having the fund. And when they go out and sell their investors, that is what they're selling them. So when you come to them with a company with a return of 10 million, even though that's good for an individual investor, for a venture capital firm, it's not what they want. What they want are companies that they can literally shovel money into, that they can put tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into these companies and have that massive amount of money give a 10x return or a 20x or a 30x. And what they really want when they invest is that they are looking not at a single company, not at your one company, but at a portfolio strategy. That means when they are thinking of unicorns, they are thinking of their entire portfolio. It may be 10 companies, 20 companies, 30 companies. And out of all these companies, they know that most of them will not turn into unicorns. In fact, they are lucky to get one or two companies in their portfolio that turn into big hits, like an Airbnb, like a Facebook, like a Twitter. If they get one of these in their portfolio, that startup is called a fund maker. That startup will give such a big return that the single return from that one startup will usually be more than all the other startups combined. And not just a little more, often exponentially more, 2, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times more than all their other investments combined. So when a venture capitalist looks at your startup and they're thinking of unicorns, what they're thinking of is, I can only sit on so many board seats for startups in a given year. Like, I'm a busy person. Time is my limitation. And I want to make sure that every board seat that I commit my time to, every startup that I invest, has the potential to become a huge hit, a blockbuster, a unicorn. If this startup doesn't have that potential, if it can only give me a $10 million return, I'm not interested, because it won't be a fund maker. It doesn't fit my business model. Now, so this is how the big VCs think in Silicon Valley. This is what unicorn thinking is. So they automatically filter out all the small ideas. You have a small idea, they aren't interested, no matter how good a small idea it is. You have a medium-sized idea, they aren't interested, because it doesn't fit their business model. When you come to them with your startup, they want to see a company that can scale exponentially, which results, that exponential growth results in exponential returns. And venture capitalists, when they look at a startup, they are going to look at certain criteria that I'm going to tell you during this talk that define what unicorn thinking is. And so you, as an entrepreneur, by default, when you are going out to raise capital, you have to have unicorn thinking. You have to understand what is in the venture capitalist minds. Otherwise, you're not going to do the pitch right. You're not going to present it to them right. So I tell entrepreneurs, don't think big, think bigger, think huge. Like you literally, if you're going to narrow down your idea because you're worried it's not possible, you're going in the wrong direction for venture capitalists. And what happens is, this is a top-down approach. So the top VCs in Silicon Valley, they're all funding these companies that they want to be big ideas, huge ideas, unicorns. Therefore, the next tier of venture capitalists, the ones that come before them, also filter on the same criteria, because they know, even if they're not a later stage investor, even if they're an earlier stage investor, let's say a Series A, a seed fund, an angel investor, they know that if they put in money to that company, the bigger VCs aren't going to look at it if it's a small idea. So they adopt the same thinking as the larger VCs, because they have found, and I will tell you this, the smart angel investors in Silicon Valley, they have found that if they put money into a small idea, that even if it's a great idea, but it's really small, it's never going to grow big, then what happens is a lot of times that company ends up dying. Because the later investors, if the company runs into trouble and needs more money, or if the company wants to grow and needs more money, but it's not a big enough idea, the investors that after them won't fund it. Therefore, it's stranded. It either plateaus or it dies. And if either way, if a company plateaus or dies, very hard to get your money out as an investor. Like an early stage investor, if a company isn't growing like crazy, if it's growing, mildly, not at all, or even in a linear fashion, a steady linear fashion, the path to acquisition, which is an exit for the company, either an exit, somebody acquires you, or you IPO, really, really tough. And what an investor wants when they are thinking like unicorns is the minute they put their money into your company, they want to get the money out of your company. That's what they want. Their whole goal, the minute they give you money, is to get the money out, and they don't want just what they put in. They want more than they put in. So they are looking at not just how big your idea can become, but how fast you can exit, how fast the company can grow. If it's growing linearly, it may take a decade or 2 decades before it reaches any sort of exit. Now, for the big venture capital firms, their funds are limited in time. Most venture funds out there, are funds that are around 10 years. So if you're and really they make all their investments in the first 3 years of the fund. So they're looking at for a lot of them, a 7-year horizon. That means your company has to exit in 7 years. If you're not growing super fast, it's not going to happen. And they won't be able to give the return to their investors during the life of the fund, which means they may have to sell their shares short too early to another investment firm just to liquidate the fund and give the investors the return within the time frame they're limited to. So this sort of thinking filters all the way down in Silicon Valley to the angel level, all the way down to basically the smaller investors, because they know if they aren't on this path, they aren't going to get the exit. They aren't going to get the support of the later stage investors. So if you want to think like a unicorn, trust me, you need to think big. But it's more than that, and we're going to go into that in this presentation. It's what makes a unicorn that really counts. Which businesses qualify and which don't. Dare greatly. So the first part of mindset is taking risk. In the real world out there, it's always a risk versus reward. You can never have super high rewards, which is what we were talking about with unicorn thinking, this exponential growth, these incredible valuations without great risk. So if you are trying in your company to contain the risk, you are trying to think small because it's something you can do. It's something you can execute on. You figured there aren't a lot of variables out there that you don't control. If you are thinking that way, you are automatically crippling yourself. You are never going to really get to the point where you produce an idea or a startup that has the potential to become a unicorn, that has the potential for exponential growth. So your mindset going into this, you have to know what you want. So there's certain people out there I know who honestly, they don't want to build a big company. They want to run a small business. They want to be in control. They don't want to take in outside investors because outside investors start taking away control. They're changing your company. If this is your mentality, don't go down the path of unicorn thinking. Don't go down that. Do what you want to do, but don't expect people to invest in your company. If you have an idea that is really niche, that isn't targeted at a large market, again, don't go down the path I was talking about. But if you are the type of person who wants to make a big impact, who doesn't mind taking risk, who actually embraces uncertainty, is willing to jump off that cliff into unknown waters and see what happens, doing a startup in Silicon Valley is perfect for you. The next thing of mindset when you are doing a startup and you are thinking deeply is going deeply, not just thinking of that big idea. There's so many people, I will tell you, almost every big idea out there that you have thought of, somebody else has thought of, and they are working on it. It may not be exactly the same, but at a certain point, certain ideas tend to converge. You may start at a totally different point than somebody else, but really the solution, there aren't that many solutions out there for problems, ideal solutions. And it's really the first of all of these people thinking along those lines that figures it out, that right solution at the right time. Those are the ideas that explode. I will tell you, a mistake many entrepreneurs make is that they think of a flashy idea and then they start executing on it. They just like, oh, this is a great idea. Let's jump right in. And they start executing on it, but they do not go back and reflect. They do not go further, think more deeply understand the problems than other people. The entrepreneurs that actually break through, the ones that we see that really like figure it out, they don't stop where everybody else does. They actually go further. And how do you do this? How do you think deeply about an idea? And I will tell you, number one, you need to ask questions. You cannot accept anything anybody else tells you. So this is especially true within an industry. So within any given industry in the world, everybody believes certain things. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It could be the fishing industry, it could be manufacturing, it could be food and beverage industry, whatever it is. If you look at people in that industry, they have assumptions. They have things that they think are true. If you're a really great entrepreneur, you will make a list of every single thing people in that industry believe is true. And you will ask, what if that isn't true? What if, because of new technology, because of new business models, because of new trends and innovation that's happening, what if I could change that and make it untrue? What would that mean for me in this industry? How would that fundamentally change the business landscape for everybody? This is where the great ideas come. So the really, really amazing entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, like look at Elon Musk. He went into the auto industry. Everybody assumed, and this was common knowledge, that no new car company in the US had survived in the past 50 years. They had all been failures. DeLorean, all these other car companies, they had tried and they had failed. There was no way you were going to launch a car company that was going to compete with the big automakers. They were too well entrenched. They had figured out supply chains. They had optimized everything. What startup could hope to do that? Well, Elon Musk went further. He didn't stop there. If he stopped there with that common knowledge, he would have never launched Tesla. Never. But he said, no, there is an opportunity here because the world is changing. People are going green. We need to go electric. This is our future. And nobody has built out an electric infrastructure. Nobody has built really consumer grade, highly profitable, highly desirable electric car. What if I did this? What if I was the first to do this? How would that change the industry? People in the industry said, no startup is going to do this. There's no infrastructure for electricity. We have gas stations. We don't have charging stations. It's too big a hurdle. Again, he kept going further. Well, people could charge in their garage. They don't need a charging station. We could begin with that. And I could set up charging stations. Why can't we set up charging stations? All you need is a connect to the power grid. You can do that anywhere. The deeper he went, the more he started to see the possibilities for the future of electric cars. Suddenly, what was an impossible idea became possible and practical. And that is what led him down the path. Elon Musk did it again with SpaceX. Everybody was like, look, NASA, all these governments, they're all losing money on their space programs. Nobody's making money. How can you launch a commercial space program and ever hope to make money, let alone compete with these subsidized government-funded programs that are doing the same thing and are unprofitable? That didn't stop him. That was common wisdom at the time. But if he had stopped there, he would have never launched SpaceX. He would never have revolutionized what we know today as a space industry. This is true of startup after startup after startup. If you are launching a company, you need to suddenly start to understand, figure it out. Like Elon Musk said, yeah, that might have been true 20 years ago, but we have new technologies out there. We can build a rocket. We don't need to do it the way the government used to do it. We can start thinking totally different about how to build rocket ships, how to make them more economical, how to send satellites into space. There's a big market now for sending satellites into space. The NASA and other programs aren't meeting that demand. What if I stepped in and started meeting that demand? He just kept pushing the limits and going deeper and deeper and deeper in doing this. When you're doing your startup, the most important thing you can do, and this is the reason that these startups aren't typically started by somebody inside the industry. Elon Musk was not working at NASA his whole life. He was not working in Detroit at a big automaker like GM his whole life. Elon Musk came from the outside. The insiders can't do this because they are so set in the mind frame that their whole mindset is based on what the industry accepts as true. It takes an outsider, it takes somebody like you coming from the outside who doesn't accept all the orthodox thinking, who's willing to go there and question everything. So if you're going into your industry, let's say it's the fishing industry, let's say you are really concerned that we're depleting our fish populations, literally wiping them out. We are using these nets and these long lines in producing huge amounts of bycatch, these fish, dolphins, and other fish that we're just throwing back into the ocean dead. We are polluting our oceans with these huge fishing vessels. What if you went to that industry and said, I think I can not only curb these abuses going on right now, but I can make that industry more profitable. I can make a fishing vessels and fishing industry far more efficient, far more effective with new technologies. What if you went into that with that idea? You couldn't stop there. You have to start going deep. You have to start looking at the problems in that fishing industry. What are the things they face? Who are the people who are going to adopt this technology? And how can you create value for them? And how can you use those to achieve your ultimate goals of redoing the fishing industry so it's more sustainable? If you go deep, you will start to figure out solutions that aren't apparent to everybody else. And being an outsider actually becomes an advantage that you have over people inside the industry, which will never, ever change it. Now let's talk about the next step. You want to do a great idea. You want to have the right mindset, unicorn thinking. But a lot of entrepreneurs, and I meet them all the time at Founder Space, they come into our programs, these entrepreneurs, they come in. And the biggest problem a lot of them have is that they've been trying to do it all themselves. They're called solopreneurs. They're doing it by themselves. So I will tell you, your chance of success doing it yourself or building a team, exponentially higher when you build a team. If you are trying to run a startup by yourself, think about it. When was the last unicorn, the last billion-dollar company ever built by a single person? One person alone? Never, never. Even a medium-sized business and most small businesses take multiple people. You need to, fundamental to being successful and having a successful mindset is understanding that you are just the starting point of the company. For the company to be successful, you need to bring in other people. Now, if you look at people like Elon Musk, he didn't know much about the car industry. He didn't know much about the space industry. He started running a crash course, reading all these books. But what really made him successful was not just educating himself. What really made him able to accomplish those seemingly impossible things was bringing in the talent that knew how to build these machines, how to build electric cars, how to build batteries, how to reinvent design, automotive design, how to build rocket ships, all these things that he only has so many hours in a day. And somebody like Elon Musk, they might be brilliant, but he's smart enough to know that he can't do all these things. So what Elon Musk does really well, as we all know, is he creates a vision and he goes and he markets the heck out of it. Like, he is a master marketer. He's not a master rocket scientist. He's not a master, auto designer. He is a master marketer. And if you look at what Elon Musk spends 90% of his time on, it's marketing, getting people to believe in his ideas, raising capital, raising awareness, and bringing in the team to execute on it. So if you want to build a great startup, if you want to be a unicorn thinker, the thing that you should be doing, first of all, before you do anything else, before you even, I don't care what idea you have, forget about your idea. Forget about going out and raising capital. Forget even about building a product. When you start your company, at the beginning, you should be spending 80% of your time, 80% finding the right team members. You're like, what? And I encourage you, don't build a product before you do this. Don't even think of an idea. Because if you build a product, then you're building a product, but you're not building it with the right team. And I've seen time after time, a team will come to me and they will actually have a brilliant idea, but they won't have the team together. So they'll start building it. And as soon as they start running with this idea, they've kind of picked up the ball and they're running with it, they will fumble it. They will fumble the ball, and another team that has a much better team will see that same opportunity, pick up the ball, run with it, and end up winning, end up taking the market. So before you start running with the ball, you got to get your team together. Before you start playing the game, you've got to get your team together. And when I say a team, I don't mean the people you happen to know, your buddy, your dorm room buddy, your friend Joe, because Joe's available, your cousin, whoever they are. I don't mean those people. I mean finding top-notch people, people that complement you, people that have skills that you don't necessarily have. Maybe you're a great leader, which is really what a CEO needs to be. Maybe you're like, you're very charismatic. You can bring people together. You can motivate them, but you don't know if, you're not an engineer. You're not a marketing person. You're not maybe even a great salesperson or other skills. You need to find those people early on, bring them into your team. The team members I like for an early stage startup are somebody who's great with technology, because technology today is transforming every business on the planet. So if you aren't using technology, good luck. I'm building a unicorn really, really hard. A great designer, because design innovation can totally transform an industry. Many of the best startups out there, like Airbnb, they were not innovations that required technology. They were innovations in design. Facebook didn't use any new technology, all off the shelf design. Really rethinking user experience, what the user goes through, the customer goes through. Design innovation, huge. So an engineer, a top-notch designer, and maybe you, that could be a really fantastic team to launch your company with. Once you have that team, and I want you to get people that can go all the way, not people who can just get you from first base to second base or even second base to third base, but the type of people who can get you scoring points, get you to home plate. So to use a baseball metaphor, really the best in people that like, oh my God, they are such an amazing technologist. They blow me away. This person knows everything. This person is experimenting with all this technology that we can use on a daily basis. That's the person I need. Spend the time to get that person. Too many people spend too much time thinking about their ideas, building prototypes, doing all these things before getting these people onto their teams. They end up doing it backwards. It's like building a house from the top down. It doesn't work as well, as getting the right foundation and building upwards. Spend the time on the foundation. If you skip the foundation, you're going to be building on loose soil and your house may just come crumbling down in the future. The first rainstorm you hit, boom, that house is collapsing. So I will tell you, honestly, the team is the foundation. If you can get that foundation right, it doesn't matter what your idea is. Most great companies out there, they change their ideas as they go along. They aren't the same company as when they started with. There's company after company after company that had one idea, and then they end up switching to another idea during the process. So you can have the best idea in the world, or the idea you think is best, and you may well be on, and actually the majority of the time, you're not on the right course. You're on the wrong track. But if you have the right team in place, if you have the right team backing you up, together, you will figure out, oh, this idea doesn't work. You'll figure it out faster. And then you will figure out what actually works, what people actually need. And when you start building that with the right team, magic happens. What makes a super CEO? So a lot of you want to be a great CEO. So I've pointed out some things already in the mindset realm of what makes a great CEO. But let me tell you, there are certain qualities that you need to be a CEO. So the first one I like to say is stamina, because doing a startup is tough. I called my book Surviving a Startup, because it's brutal. I've done it 3 times with 3 venture funded companies, and I've done 2 bootstrap companies. I know. And I work with hundreds of entrepreneurs. Majority fail. They fail. But it's the entrepreneur. If you are really tough, if you really can just pick yourself up off the ground after, smashing into a brick wall, pick yourself up and say, I can find another way around this. I can go under it. I can go over it. There's a path around this wall. I will get there. You need to have that. You need to have that mindset in order to succeed. Anything less, and you're going to get tripped up at some point, and it's not going to work. You're just going to give up, and you'll go off and get a job or do something else. Great entrepreneurs have that stamina, that resilience, that determination to keep going. Number 2, really important, curiosity. Are you the type of person who is curious about the world? Do you just accept what everybody says? Or are you out there always discovering things? Really great entrepreneurs are people who experiment. They are curious. They're asking questions. They're trying things. So in your life, are you this type of person? If you're not, can you become this type of person? Honestly, look at yourself. You may not be the ideal CEO. Like most people out there, they're not cut out to be the CEO of a startup. But if you know what makes a great CEO, you may be able to join that CEO as a co-founder. When you recognize this person has these traits, they never give up. They're a machine. Like you can knock them down 100 times and they're coming up again. And they are curious. They're always trying new things. They're always thinking differently than other people out there. Those are the 2 traits. Let me get to the 3rd trait, really important, even more important than those first 2. Those first two are really important. 3rd one is leadership. As a CEO, you have to be able to get people to believe in you. You have to be able to get people to believe in your vision. You have to get people to be able to believe in your company. Do you have this skill set? Are you the type of person who have you done anything in your life to prove that? Have you been a team leader? Have you started a club? Have you done anything out there to prove that you can be this type of person to actually get people and focus them on solving a problem? And people convince, I always say the first test of a great entrepreneur is their leadership. Like when I look at a startup company, I'm not looking at their idea at first. I'm not looking at their product. I'm looking at the team, who they got on the team. If you can convince somebody to quit their job at Google or Amazon or Facebook and come and join your startup for no money because they believe in you, they believe in your vision, they believe that you have that special something, then you're a great leader. So in Silicon Valley, as an investor, we invest in leaders. And the way we know leaders is by the team that they put together. Entrepreneurs come to me quite often and they say, Steve, it's impossible. I have no money. How can I get these amazing people, this amazing coder, these amazing designer that you talk about? How can I convince them to join me? And I go, well, that's your first test of what makes a great CEO. If you can't do it, you shouldn't be a CEO. It's that simple. You need to be able to check these boxes and prove to yourself that you will be a great CEO. And the first test is when you start off your company and start building your team. Can you do that? I'm going to give you a 4th one, a bonus one on top of the top big 3 that you need to have. Being an entrepreneur is very stressful, extremely stressful, because it's a roller coaster ride. You're going to be going up and down all around, really crazy. Like I've never done a startup where at some point I wasn't on the floor, totally exhausted, totally disheartened, really stressed out. If you can't handle the stress, don't be the CEO of a startup. You may not even want to be a founder at the early stage. You may want to join a little later, like when they raise their Series A or Series B, when they're further along. Because honestly, there are a lot of people who like order in their lives. They like stability. They like predictability. That is not the world you're going into when you do a startup. You're going into utter chaos, unpredictability, huge financial risks, emotional risks with your family, with your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever they are. It's tumultuous. So you need the type of person who emotionally not only can handle this, but actually embraces it. So think about these when you're doing a startup. my goal isn't to dissuade you from doing a startup. It's to make you realistic about analyzing what it takes to be the CEO of a startup. So some of you may say, I can't handle all of that, but I'm happy to join a startup at an early stage with a CEO who does have these qualities. And maybe that's the best fit for me. Another question I get, and it comes back to mindset again, is should I keep my idea secret? Should I not tell anybody? Because they're going to steal it. They're going to steal my idea. And people do steal ideas. What I will tell you is when you start a company, don't keep it secret. Do not keep it secret. Like there are entrepreneurs out there, and I was one of these, who are paranoid about people taking your brilliant idea. Well, first of all, think about it. This idea you think is brilliant may not even work. You have no proof. You're just starting out. You just have an idea. And what you learn along the way is going to be way more important than the starting point, the idea you start with. So you really aren't protecting much. Number two, even if you happen to have the most brilliant idea in the world, I can almost guarantee you somebody else is doing it. Somebody else has this idea somewhere else in the world. You are not the only one. And this person is running with it. And what matters, if you keep your idea secret while they're out there running with it, while they're showing it to venture capitalists, while they're showing it to potential customers, while they're showing it to team members, while they're showing it to advisors, they're getting all this input. They're getting all this information, all this data that's allowing them to iterate on the idea faster and faster and figure out how to really bring this idea to life. They're doing it because they are exposing their idea to all these other minds out there that are engaging with it and contributing to the growth of that idea and the growth of that company. Meanwhile, you're toiling away in secrecy on your idea, which by its definition means you're not getting a lot of input. What does this mean for you? It means you're moving slower. Everything out there is a race. It's a winner take all world. The person out there who's putting their idea, who's getting feedback, who's growing their business, they are going to outrun you. They are going to capture the market before you. They are going to build a better product than you. They are going to win, and you are going to lose. Almost always, keeping your idea secret is not a good idea. Now, I'm not telling you to take your brilliant idea, go to a conference in a room full of potential competitors and announce your idea to all of them. That is not what I'm saying. When I say don't keep your idea secret, I'm saying if you want to engage with the world, if you want to go out and test it on customers, if you want to go out and bring advisors into your company, if you want to go out and start talking to potential investors, you need to show them your idea. Don't even try to get them to sign NDAs. NDAs usually aren't worth the paper they're printed on because they could say they heard it somewhere else. And they're also, they slow you down and they close a lot of doors. Like any venture capitalist in Silicon Valley who's really decent, they won't sign an NDA. Like they would rarely sign an NDA. I can count on maybe one finger the number of NDAs I signed with startups in the past year. Like almost never. And most of the time I'll say, you want me to sign an NDA? I don't have the time for this. Just because I see too many ideas and I don't know where they're coming from. I'm not going to steal your idea. I'm a venture capitalist. I'm too busy. My job is not to run startups. My job is to fund them. So when you are going out there, forget about it. And I want to give you a great example of this, a great example of why keeping your idea secret won't work. Remember virtual reality? There were tons of people working on virtual reality in labs all around the world. And a lot of them were keeping their ideas secret, like very close. There was one guy out there called Palmer Luckey. And Palmer Luckey wasn't just lucky. He was smart. He went out there, he got the technology from open source for virtual reality, and he started experimenting with it. How would I miniaturize this? How would I make this, commercialize it? And instead of keeping it secret, he put up the idea for his VR on Kickstarter so everybody in the world could see it. He put it up before he built a product. He just made a video. All he did was do some experiments, a prototype, create a fun video, put it on Kickstarter. People saw this. They went crazy. They started pre-ordering. Venture capital saw this. They started handing him tens of millions of dollars. Before he had ever launched a product, he ended up selling virtual reality, Oculus, the company Oculus, to Facebook for billions of dollars and exited. All those other people who may have been much more technical than him, much further along in their research, who had kept their idea secret, didn't get a cent. They didn't get anything. Taking your idea into the world first, capturing mind share, capturing venture capitalists, that is what makes startups go. So holding back, if you had, it didn't matter if you had the best product in the world. Palmer Luckey went out there and got the exit for $3 billion. He basically defined virtual reality as we know it by going out early and big with his idea. This doesn't apply to every idea. So I'm not saying it always works, but more often than not, moving fast, getting your idea out there quickly, getting people involved, getting venture capitalists involved, getting advisors involved, getting consumers involved, engaging the press, that works to your advantage. Less secrecy, more push, more focus on growth, capturing markets. That is how you win as a startup. Money won't save you. So a lot of entrepreneurs, I know, they think, they come to me and they say, Steve, or, my nickname is Captain Hoff. They'll be like, Captain Hoff, if I just had $1 million, if I just had $10 million, then all my problems would be solved. That is almost never the case. Money does not save bad ideas. Money does not make a mediocre idea good, or even a good idea great. The best ideas are born usually off of very little capital. Like the best startups I know out there, a lot of them start with nothing, just their sweat equity. So if you're out there and you have an idea that requires a ton of money to get going, a ton of money, but you don't have a ton of money and you're not famous, you have no track record, it's much easier for you to change your idea into something that requires less money than to try to raise the money. Because honestly, most venture capitalists, most angel investors, unless you're super charismatic, incredible salesperson, everything else, you're not going to get that money until you've already proven that there's something real there, that it works. So my advice to you when you're going out there is pick an idea that doesn't require a lot of money, where you can get an amazing coder, some amazing designer. You can all get together and you can build it with just your time. That is the way to go. And then if your idea isn't working, like a lot of people put their idea out there, they will, 6 months later, their idea is out there, but it isn't taking off. They're like, oh my God, it's not taking off. People aren't responding. But if I just had $5 million or even $1 million, I'd be able to market this. I'd be able to go out and acquire customers. This thing would go like gangbusters. That is almost never the case. Usually, a great idea, if you put it into the real world, taps into what I call a pent-up pool of demand. And that idea just explodes. You don't need a lot of money. If you figured out creating the core value right for the customer and you match them up, you will see it going. It might not be on a huge scale, but you will see people engaging with your application or your software or buying it, placing pre-orders. You will see this happening. And if you can capture that and show it to investors, you can get the money you need. But if you don't have that, if you don't see it happening and you're just counting on marketing, going out there and acquiring customers, you can raise 10 million, 100 million, $200 million. It will ultimately fail. I don't know if you remember, because a lot of you are young, but there are companies out there like fab.com, boo.com, tons of other companies out there that had raised hundreds of millions of dollars. And you know what? They never found the product market fit and they ended up flaming out. No matter how much money you raise, if you haven't identified the massive pool of demand and matched it with something that can meet that demand, nothing will help you. So really what you want to do is find this out at an early stage with no money. Only after you figure that out, you go to money. Venture capital is really bad at figuring out, at iterating, at figuring out product market fit. Venture capital is horrible at that. Like, in fact, it makes it harder. I know startups that raise a lot of money, before they've found a product market fit. And you know what happens? They use the money to mask the problem. They spend the money to acquire more customers, but those customers don't stick around and they end up leaving. And so they have to raise more money to acquire more customers, to show more growth. But ultimately, that's a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing collapses down upon itself because you can't sustain it at a certain point. If the customers you bring in are leaving and they're not generating enough revenue to acquire even more customers, they're not profitable, your thing isn't going to work. However, if you're like Amazon and you actually figured out that, yeah, we're offering them real value, then you get venture capital, then you can go out and acquire customers. And yes, you may be unprofitable for a while because it takes a while for a customer you bring in to actually pay back for the cost of customer acquisition. But over time, you become massively profitable. That is the venture model. So think about that when you go out to raise money. Break the rules. So I like to say the real world is like a Monopoly game, but it's like you're entering a Monopoly game where everybody else playing with you has hotels already. They all have hotels on their property. These are the big companies. There's Google, there's Facebook, there's IBM, it doesn't matter. There's old line oil companies. There's whatever industry you're in, there are people out there with hotels who own all the hotels. So if you play by their rules, by the companies that are already out there, by their rules, you've already lost the game. If you play Monopoly, because they own the best properties, they have the hotels, they have the distribution, they have the scale, they have everything. So if you're going to go into the world with your company, in order to win, you need to rewrite the rules of the game. You need to take this Monopoly game and suddenly say, you know what, having a hotel isn't an advantage. It's actually a disadvantage to you. So let's think about this. What startups break the rules? Airbnb broke the rules. And all these hotels out there, these huge chains, these Marriotts, these Hiltons, all these hotels, they had massive amounts of real estate. They actually had hotels in the Monopoly game, right? They controlled the market. How are you going to compete with them as a young startup? Well, suddenly you say, we don't need to own any real estate. We don't need hotels. Hotels are expensive to run. Hotels require lots of people. We're just going to allow people to stay in each other's homes. There's free real estate for us. We have rewritten the rules of the Monopoly game. Airbnb gets a valuation that's bigger than any of these hotel chains in the world very, very quickly, almost overnight by business standards. Overnight, they have rewritten the rules and they're playing a totally different game. That's how you win. Uber did the same thing, wiped taxi companies out of business. They used to spend huge amounts of money getting these medallions, these government licenses to run these taxis. Uber said, we don't need to spend that money to the government. We're doing it over an app. These taxi companies used to have to spend money on cars and drivers and all these things. Uber just totally rewrote the rules on what it was to run a taxi company and literally drove them out of business. Any business you're in, we call this disruptive. Being disruptive means rewriting the rules of the game, using technology to change the game, change the playing field so it's slanted in your favor so that you can win the game, you can cheat. That's how you win at business. Another thing when you're thinking about doing a startup is a lot of entrepreneurs I know, and I get suckered into this too, we all think, wow, the more ideas we have, the better. And we're bouncing between all these different things, trying all these different things. Well, let me tell you, at the very beginning, that is true. It's good to experiment with a lot of ideas. But if you're going to be successful, you need to figure out which one of these ideas has legs, which one of these ideas has real potential. And then instead of doing 5 things at once, you will be much more successful if you just focus on one. Putting all your energy, all your thought, day and night into one thing allows you to push further and faster than everybody else. And as I told you before, going deep and going fast are the keys to building great startups. The only way you can really do this, the only way you could really outrun your competitors is to focus. So don't think you're increasing your odds in your startup by trying 5 different things at once and placing equal emphasis on all of them. What you're doing is you're diluting your energy. Really important. The really great entrepreneurs do it in serial fashion. They don't do it in parallel. They don't do 5 ideas at once. They pick the most promising idea they have out of all, may have 20 ideas, most promising one. And then they put all their energy into that one idea, boom, 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 boom. And they keep testing, trying, hammering on that idea, trying to make that idea fail, trying to figure out the flaws in that idea. If they can't kill it, they put everything into it. And if it dies, it dies. Then they jump to the next idea. And if that dies, they go to the next idea. But when they find an idea that, boom, everything clicks, they're going. So think of it, do one thing at a time. Even if you have 20 great ideas, pick one, put all your energy into it and figure out as fast as possible, is this going to work? As soon as you know this isn't going to be a big idea, kill it, move to the second, move to the third, move to the fourth, testing each one and taking what you learned along the way and applying it. Your customer's mind. It's not just your mindset that matters. It is your customer's mindset. So when you are out there in the real world, when you're out there, as soon as you have your killer team, like your team together, the next thing you need to do is take your team, not just yourself, not your own brain, but all of you together and engage the customer, get inside their head. You are not building a product for nobody, right? Out of thin air. You are building a product for a specific type of person. Now, there's some startups out there who build a product for themselves. They build a product because they need it. They know there's a demand out there because they see the problem and they need this solution. They are the customer. These startups tend to be successful, especially if there's lots of other people like them that need the same thing. They're successful. But if you're building a product for somebody else who you're not, then you need to go out and engage that person right away. Like right after you get your team together, you engage them and you start to figure out, is this idea I have in their top 5 priorities, in the top 5 things that they need? Because I will tell you, if it's number 6 or number 7 or number 8, think about your life. You usually have most people can keep track of like 5 things they really want to do. And by the time you get to 6, 7, or 8, it never gets done. It's never on their list. They might say, oh, that's really nice. And I've had entrepreneurs out there, honestly. And I said, go talk to the customer, go talk to them. They'll talk to 100 customers and they'll come back and say, Steve, all the customers said it would be nice. Come back when it's ready. You know what I tell them? You're dead. You're dead. Your startup will go nowhere because all your customers just said your product is nice. Come back later. What are they telling you? They're telling you to go away. Nobody needs a nice to have product. Nobody uses a nice to have product. Think about your phone. You've got a phone, right? You download an app. We all do this all the time. Oh, that app's pretty nice. You use it for a little bit and you forget about it. A month later, you delete it from your phone. That's what happens to nice to have products. If you're going to have a product that succeeds, you need to get so deep in your customer's mind that you connect with what they really need, that one of those top 5 things. So when the customer sees it, they're like, not that's nice, come back later. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I need it today. How can I have it? I want it. I want to try it. I want to use it. I got to have this. When you get that reaction, not from every customer out there, but from a large enough percentage of your customers, you know you have something real. So I tell entrepreneurs, the idea you come to them at first, it's probably a nice to have idea. They will probably look at that and go, oh, it's nice. As soon as you hear that, kill that idea. And then start engaging your customer and figuring out what are the things that they really care about, that the problems they need solved today, the things they want right now, the things that are going to blow them away if it's entertainment. Like they're going to be, oh my God, that's so amazing. I got to use that. Figure these things out. And you can only figure it out by embedding yourself with your customer. So if you're not the customer, let's say you're not a restaurateur, you're coming from the outside, which is a great thing because you see the world a different way. Go into a restaurant. Now, you can't ask them to build the product you want. They're not going to tell you what product to build because they're immersed in the business. Like they're just doing what everybody does in the business. They don't know. It's your job as an outsider to actually figure out you're not going to say, what product should I build? What you want to figure out is what problems they're having, where they're banging their head against the wall, where they're doing a lot of work, where they don't necessarily have work, where you can create value for them. Can you make them more efficient? Can you make them more profitable? And when you go to them with these ideas, do they say, oh my God, that is on my top 5 list. Like that hits something that it's just been bugging me like crazy. You can eliminate that problem for me, or you can create that value for me. You've got me. That's what you need to do. That's how you get inside your customer's mind early, and you start to figure out your business. And this is why I like to tell entrepreneurs, don't fixate on an idea. An idea is only worth something when it proves it to you, when the customer falls in love with your idea, when the customer goes crazy over your idea. I don't care how passionate you are about your idea. I don't care how much you love your idea. I don't care how much time you've put into your idea. I don't care about how much great technology you've developed. None of those that matter if the customer isn't crazy about the idea. None of them matter. They don't matter at all. Creating great companies is about meeting customer needs. If you don't do this, you don't have a business. You could build the best, literally the best product in the world. It could be bug-free, could have a beautiful design. It could be like just have every feature in the world. But if your customer goes, oh, that's nice to have, you've got nothing. You've got absolutely nothing. They're never going to buy it. It's not on their top 5 list, or better yet, their top 3 list of things that they want and need. So they're never going to go for it. You're never going to take off. Don't make that mistake. Don't start building your product first. Get your team together, get inside your customer's head. Good versus great. The rule is very simple. Great products change the world. Good products go nowhere. If you have a good product, think about, you're trying to buy something. You want to buy a vacuum. Are you going to buy a good vacuum when there's a great vacuum out there? No. You're going to buy the great vacuum. In fact, what's great to you might not be great to somebody else. So certain people have different priorities, but you're going to buy the vacuum that's great for you. That may mean it's the lowest price vacuum that works the best in that price range, because you only have this budget. You only have $100, but you're going to buy the best darn vacuum for $100 that you can find, right? Good versus great. Are you going to buy the second best? Why should you? Why? If the best is out there, like, you will buy the best product for your budget. This is true in every industry. The great products drive all good products out of business. If you're going to build a product and you're building a good product, you've lost the game. It's over. Forget it. You have no business. Good products fail. Great products take the market. Only if you can't make a great product, get out of the business. If you can't make the best product in your segment, right? The best product in your segment, don't even try. If you say, oh, I know this isn't going to be the best, and by best, I mean the best combination of price and value, right? Price and value, that intersection. If you can't beat everybody else in that category, move on. Copy competitors. A lot of entrepreneurs out there, they think they have to have all the original ideas. Well, let me tell you, no entrepreneur does. Really smart entrepreneurs, they usually have one breakthrough idea, like how to create, they figured out where that demand is, that extreme demand, and they figured out how to meet that. But everything else in their business, all the other stuff in their business, they borrow from other people who've already figured it out. So if you're in a business segment, you should be spending a huge amount of time using all your competitors' products, figuring out everything that they've learned, everything that they've done right, everything that they've done wrong, that they aren't doing right. And you need to know their products as well as you know your own, inside and out. And not just you, I'm talking about your entire team. Unless you do this, you are missing out on the big opportunity. Like, it doesn't matter if somebody's Steve Jobs didn't invent everything. He was always copying people. He went to Xerox PARC, which had developed the whole GUI, the user interface, graphic user interface for the Macintosh. And he literally took that, stole it, copied it, but then he made it better. He made it his own. He productized it. He commercialized the iPhone. Steve Jobs didn't invent these new type of phones. They had been around for a long time. Palm, most of you don't remember. There's a company called Palm that had the market for these graphical user interface phones that he wanted to develop. He just copied them and did it better. Honestly, when you are out there, copying is not bad. Copying is awesome, but you can't just copy. You need to copy and innovate at the same time. But innovation without copying, you're going to cripple yourself. Copying without innovation, you're going to cripple yourself. You need to do both. Value over money. When you're starting a business, do not think about how much money I can make from my customers. I know this sounds silly, like, aren't you supposed to make a lot of money? Of course. But you don't create money by just thinking of every way you can squeeze your customer for money. How can I get more money out of my customer? How can I squeeze them? You know, when you use a product and they're always trying to upsell you on something, they're always trying to nickel and dime you, get every penny out of you. What do? If you find another product, you switch to it, because that's really annoying. And you recognize right away that whoever's providing that product or service to you doesn't have your best interests in mind. They are actually somebody else. There's somebody else who really cares about you more. Entrepreneurs like Jeff Bezos knew early on, I'm not going to nickel and dime my customers. I'm not going to figure out how to squeeze out more money from them. I am going to give them more value than any other e-commerce provider. And if I do this, they will always come back to me. They will always buy from me. Jeff Bezos knew this. This is why he was the first one, this guiding principle, to offer free shipping. Nobody else had it. They were like, oh no, that's good. We need to make the customer pay extra. He was the first one to make returning products easier, like so much easier. All the other guys were making returning a product really, really hard because they lost money every time you return. Jeff Bezos goes, no, if my customers want to return a product, I'm going to make it as easy as possible for them. Brain dead simple for them to return product. What ended up happening? People end up coming back to him to buy a product. They knew it was easy to return if they didn't like it. And they bought more products. So in the long run, he made more money. Value over money. Value your customer. Everything you can do to create value for your customer is much more important in the long run than getting short-term money out of them. Don't fall in love. Now, I'm not saying don't fall in love with your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever. I'm saying don't fall in love with your product, because love is blind. When you fall in love with your product, what you end up doing is you put on blinders. You end up saying, my God, our product is the best. Nobody compete with us. You're not looking at competitors. You're not being critical of your product. And more importantly, you're not receptive to feedback, because people will come to you and tell you, I don't like this about your product. If you love it, you're not listening to them. You're having a bias. You're filtering it out. Do not love your product. What you want to love is not your product. You want to love your customer. So when you are building a product, don't fall in love with your product, fall in love with your customer. How can I make my customer fall in love with, what can I make that my customer falls in love with? That is the right formula. If you do this, you will be successful. If you're just focused on your own product and how great it is, you will end up hurting yourself in the long run. Getting close to the ending now, it's a roller coaster ride. Never be prepared for ups and downs. Like doing a startup, really brutal, really hard. But if you're prepared for this crazy roller coaster ride, just like a roller coaster, it can be a blast. It can be a lot of fun. And I like to tell people, you're going on this thrill ride. It doesn't matter what the outcome is, where you end up. If you love the roller coaster ride, if you love, that drama of doing a startup, you are going to learn so much and you're going to get so much out of the experience that at the end of the day, most startups fail. It won't matter, because you'll grow as a person. You will grow. You will become stronger and you'll become better the next time you go out. So know yourself. I'm going to go back to the beginning. Know who you are. Know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you're good at, what you're terrible at. If you know these things, if you are introspective, if you think about these things, you will be able to bring in the people you need, the support you need to really build a great company, a great team that can grow with you. And lastly, I get asked the question, when should I quit? Like, when should you quit? Like, when do you know your idea isn't working? When are you this Sisyphus who's trying to push a boulder up a hill? It's the Greek myth, only to have it roll back down, and you push it up again, rolls back down. Every time an entrepreneur comes to me and asks me, should I quit my startup? Do you know what I say? And I'll say this to you too, if you ask me the question. I will say, absolutely, quit today. Stop doing what you're doing. You're done with it. And you know why I say that? Because no entrepreneur wants to quit. None of them. It's your baby. Nobody wants to be a failure. Nobody wants to quit. So by the time an entrepreneur is coming to me and asking my permission that they quit their startup, they already know the answer. Their business isn't working. It's not working. So most people, most entrepreneurs fail, not because they quit doing what they're doing too early before it's reached its full potential. Most of them fail because they quit too late. They stick with it too long. They stick with an idea too long because they are in love with it. They're working with it. They invested so much in it. They can't bear to be a failure. They can't bear to depart. The great entrepreneurs I know, they quit all the time. Try something, doesn't work, quit. Try something, doesn't work, quit. Try something, working, doesn't work, quit, until they hit it. So your odds of being successful are much higher if you quit early and often than if you stick with something long. Now, there are cases out there where you need to stick with it, where you need to know if this idea works. And what I tell people is look for the real proof, not how much you believe in your idea, not how much you want to think this is a great idea, but look for the real proof. Like Airbnb, they struggled for years with everybody telling them your idea is nuts. Nobody's going to allow you to stay in their house. You could be a serial killer. Who's going to invite somebody, potentially a murderer, into their home without any vetting? You know why they knew it worked? They knew it worked because they ate their own dog food. They were using Airbnb for themselves and their friends. And they were like, wow, we could make money, extra money off renting renting out a bedroom in our house. Wow, we can travel around the world and stay at other people's house for half the price of a hotel. This is amazing. They knew that. So for years, when people were telling them it wouldn't work, they stuck with it because they could see, they had proof with themselves and their community that they had built, even though it was really, really small. They had proof that there was something there. If you're not getting that proof, quit, move on. Okay. Lastly, never stop dreaming. I know it's tough, but never stop dreaming. Like, great entrepreneurs are great dreamers. I'm a dreamer. You can tell I'm super passionate about what I do. I love what I do. I love working with entrepreneurs. You're going to hit failure after failure after failure. But if you've got that fundamental qualities, if you love what you're doing, if you're connecting with great people, if you're learning and growing, keep dreaming, because eventually it only takes one of these dreams to come true and you're set for life. Like, you don't have to succeed 100 times. You just have to succeed once. So if you want to reach out to me again, you can go to founderspace.com, connect with me. I have my podcast there. So if you like this, we have lots of amazing venture capitalists, amazing strategists, marketing people, designers coming onto the podcast, helping entrepreneurs learn how to grow their business. So go there and you can contact me. You can contact me on founderspace.com. You can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, all these platforms. Just search for Steve Hoffman Founderspace. You will find me. So I am going to go back. I'm going to stop screen sharing now, and I'm going to go to answer your questions. So we have half an hour left for all your questions. Who wants to fire away? And I have a rule. If you're going to ask me a question, keep it brief, because if you give me, like, I've had entrepreneurs, they come on and they talk for like 20 minutes. First of all, nobody else can ask a question because they're talking for 20 minutes. Secondly, I can't even remember what they talked about at the beginning. So only ask me one question, not two or three, just one at a time, so everybody can have a turn. We'll come back to you if other people have asked their questions, and keep it to 1 or 2 sentences, if possible. Keep it brief. So think about a question, ask a very specific question. I'll give you a specific answer. Thank you. Okay, who wants to go? Oh, are they going to type them in, or we're going to type it into?
Well, I've got my hand up.
Okay.
Okay. So real quick, if someone has a smaller startup, like what you call a solopreneur, or just a smaller company, how does one find funding for that? Because it seems to me as though you could have either no money or huge, vast sums of venture capital, and there's not much in between.
So let me tell you, that is absolutely true. It is really hard to find money for smaller companies, precisely as I said at the beginning, because people, if they put money, if they're an investor, they want to get their money out. And in a small business, they're probably not going to get their money out. And who wants to fund your lifestyle? Like, who wants to fund, your consulting business, give you money so you can start a consulting business or a small business so that you can earn a living? Unless it's your family, they might do it, right? They might loan you, 10 grand or 20 grand to start your business, but a real investor won't. So my advice to you is there are a couple ways around this. Number one, pick a business that you can start with very little capital. And there are plenty out there. They're like selling stuff on Amazon. There's just tons of ways. Kickstarter, another great way to fund a business out there. Kickstarter, where you have a product you're going to build and you will offer it to them. Friends and family are good, but keep in mind, friends and family are also dangerous because honestly, most of these businesses fail, whether they're small or large. Most fail. And if you borrow money from your friends or family and you lose their money, what are they going to think? Like they want to give you the money, but nobody likes to lose money. You're going to have Thanksgiving dinners with them. You're going to have to meet them. Do you really want them to always be thinking that person lost my money? So be very careful about that. Only borrow money from people who are giving it to you as a gift. So if your parents say, hey, mom and dad, I want to start this business. It's probably going to go out of business, but I'll learn a lot. Can you give me some money to try this out? And if they say, sure, great. If they think of it as an investment, don't take their money, honestly. I always like to say, and I've done this, every business I've done, I've either self-funded, I've saved the money myself. For my very first business, I did it, or I raised it from professional investors, professional angels, professional venture capitalists. It's the safest thing to do. If you can't get your money from friends and family who will gift it to you, not as an investment, if you can't get your money from traditional angels, which probably won't invest in a small business, look for partners. Is there somebody who's passionate about this business and wants to start it with you? Maybe they don't want to put in the sweat equity that you will, but you want to start a restaurant, you want to start a jewelry business. I don't care what it is. They really love this area. You want to be a filmmaker and make a film, right? They really are passionate about this, but they don't want to do all the heavy lifting. You do that and they put in money. They put in the money. That's often a great way because they're doing it more. They're becoming your partner. A lot of people, they want to be in the film business. They want to do it. They love jewelry and they have ideas, but they don't want to do all that part. Or maybe they're willing to put in the initial capital, or they're a partner and they actually work with you, but because they put in more capital, you make an arrangement, like they'll get paid back twice as much as they put in, or they will get a larger share of the revenue that you make out of this company. There's so many creative ways to structure the deal, but a great way for smaller businesses is, number one, get a partner. Number two, who are your customers? Can you get them to fund you? So if your customers, let's say, are doctors, medical doctors, they have money and you're providing a service to them, maybe they will fund you because they want that service and they'll give you an advance. A lot of times people buy your product in advance. That's what Kickstarter and Indiegogo do, right? Customers are buying your product in advance. Those are the surest ways to fund a small business. Okay, next question.
Ian, I see Ian's hand is raised.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you for a most inspirational webinar. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
My question is about what was your opinion of crowdfunding? I've heard of this recently, and
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm investigating through college. I'm investigating starting a solar company as a consultant, and I've put in for of crowdfunding.
And which platform are you considering?
Oh, I'm not sure. That's the thing. I'm not sure what
Okay.
it is. It's mostly I believe that crowdfunding sites run by estate agents are quite keen on solar projects. And
so there's a lot of different ways to do crowdfunding. First of all, there are many platforms out there. Everything from AngelList, angel.co, to F-Success. There are just dozens and dozens of crowdfunding platforms out there. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, which we mentioned, and many, many other ways to raise money. I'm a huge fan of crowdfunding. Great way to raise money. It's a great way for small businesses, for medium businesses, and for large businesses. Potential unicorns. Really, really good. The businesses that tend to work best for crowdfunding it depends on the platform. So if you're going out to raise venture capital from angels, sites like AngelList can work really well, but they also are really tough because these crowdfunding sites, a lot of times you get lost in them. They're a morass. They have so many entrepreneurs on them posting their businesses that almost like you could spend a lot of time on that crowdfunding site. Nobody ever discovers you. You don't get a penny, or you get very little money. The key, if you're going to be successful in crowdfunding, are certain things. So number one, if you're going on to AngelList to raise venture capital from angel investors, you need to get a syndicate lead to champion you. A syndicate lead is somebody very well connected in the angel community who forms a group on AngelList that everybody follows, they invest in. These are the ones that take off. So you have to figure out who are these syndicate leads and get through to them in person, pitch them, get them on board, and then that crowdfunding platform actually works. Without them, very, very hard to gain traction. With a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, sites like that, crowdfunding, you have to have a product usually that people want. Like this has to be a product that they really, really want, that they can't get anywhere, that they feel passionate about. So they're essentially advancing you the money for the product. If it could be a game, it could be an electronic product, whatever it is, it's a product they want. Those are the ones that take off. If it's like GoFundMe, something like that, it could be a charity. Like they could be environmentalists who really believe in solar energy and they like want to support this regardless of whether it's profitable or not. They just want to support you philanthropically. Or it could be one of these other crowdfunding sites that allow you to raise lots of capital from little investors. You know, so the government allows crowdfunding now. You can invest a certain amount of money, but each person can only, you know, the cap is very small. It's not a lot of money, but the right platform out there, you still need to be able to reach people. All of these platforms require you to reach people. So you need to have a connection to a community to make a crowdfunding site work well. A community of people who are looking to invest in this thing. So if you're going, let's say you're on Kickstarter, if you're going to revive a game, let's say that's been, you know, a classic game and update it and release it, those tend to work really well because all the fans of that game go crazy and they will crowdfund you. If you are going to fund an electronic project, are there gadget geeks on there that you can reach out to on blogs, on social networks, and get all these gadget geeks and gadget bloggers to talk about your product, to fund it? You need to tap into community. Community is key. So with your solar energy idea, it's just one. Look for the communities of people who are passionate about solar energy. If you're going to crowdfund from them, like who really cares about this? Who really will believe and want to push this forward? Those are the most likely people to crowdfund you. So unless you have that or can bring people onto your team who know how to reach out to those communities, engage them, inspire them, motivate them to actually do this investment, you're going to have a really hard time on the crowdfunding sites. Okay, next question.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, and I want to add one more thing. For the first person starting a small business, sometimes there are government programs out there. The government's pushing a lot of programs right now for entrepreneurs, both large and small. You can get good money from these government programs. Now, I'm not going to go into the details here because it's just like a lot of forms and stuff you have to fill out. But honestly, go online, start searching for the different government programs in this country, in the United States. You know, Biden has is putting a lot of money into this. Also in foreign countries, like a lot of entrepreneurs I know, they like go to Chile, they go to South Africa, they go to, you know, China, they go somewhere where the government will literally hand them money to get started. Sometimes it's 50K, sometimes it's 20K, you know, sometimes they invite them into their incubator. So there's a lot of different ways to get your business going if you start to look outside the traditional angel and venture capital channels.
So should we just run searches for government-funded small businesses?
Yes. Yes.
What's your recommendation for how to find these?
Yes, government-funded small businesses. There are certain websites out there that will link you to all in cities are actually doing this now because the money is being distributed through cities. So like Minneapolis may have a fund for small businesses in Minneapolis. Hawaii, I know, was flying people out to Hawaii, entrepreneurs paying for all their expenses to go to Hawaii and start a business. And there are there's more than, you know, I could possibly mention, but yes, start searching on different states, different cities, different programs offered by cities, you know, innovation programs, funding programs for entrepreneurs, and put in the name of the city or the name of the state and see what comes up on Google and which sites come up. And then you'll start to go deeper and deeper and you'll see the plethora of different options out there, which may require you to move right? But if you're flexible, that could work.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, Steven. I'm
Yes.
Kingston. You are doing awesome presentation. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And I have two questions. One question is, you know, you mentioned about like before we making the product, we must find like a great team. So for me, it's very hard to find like a passion partner, and in the first time, mean there without the pay for all the partner. And the second question mean there other like idea we need to do that like a marketing analysis, and it's also hard to find a customer to communicate like what is in your what is the customer really needs. So it's a second question. Thank you.
Yeah, so these are good questions. It's always hard. And I made that clear. Like, it's never going to, this is the challenge of being an entrepreneur at the beginning. Like, it's the hardest time. Like, you have no money, you have, you don't know the right people, you don't know the customers. How do you find these? Well, I will tell you, if you need a great coder, let's say you need a great coder. Let's say you're on the business side and you need somebody who can really excellent at coding. Don't go to all these business networking events, because what you're going to find is other business people, or you may find some engineers there, but they're starting their own companies because they're at the business events. Go to the geeky places that all the geeks hang out. Like, go to the, hardcore, JS Node meetup groups and online, the blogs, the websites where they're all hanging out, and engage them. So you may not know a lot about the latest, MongoDB database or all these different platforms out there. You may, Python and all these different things. You don't have to know that, but you have to go and engage where those people are. And then you just start talking to people. You're like, hey, I'm working on, and again, don't keep it secret. Like, you don't have to tell them your exact idea. You can say, hey, I'm really interested in innovating in this area, in agriculture and technology, IoT. And, it's really a passion of mine. And what do you do? Oh, you work on, gadgets and blah, 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 and you just start engaging. And then you talk to a lot of people, like whether it's online or offline, you are out there hustling. Like, you can't be a great entrepreneur sitting in your dorm room or your apartment, thinking about this. You need to get out either online or offline into the world with people. And when you're engaging with them, ask them questions, get interested in what they're interested in, find out what they're really passionate about. And maybe there'll be commonalities where suddenly you think they see you're really interested in them and what they do. And like, you can ask them like, what technology would you apply? What opportunity? The great thing is, if you are open to ideas and you can get people to start brainstorming with you on the possibilities, then they start to take ownership. Like, this is true with investors. It's true with, early co-founders. If you're just trying to sell them on your idea, it's easier for them to say, no, not interested in your idea, right? Because, either you don't pitch it well, or you haven't thought it through, or it's not in their main interest area. But if you are going to them and saying, look, I think there's a huge opportunity there. Maybe, I'd love to hear what you think about this opportunity, what ideas you have, and you start to engage them. When people give you their own ideas, they get so much more excited by them. When you ask them about what they think, they actually start to light up, their neurons start to fire, they start to be creative. If you want to engage people and get them to be your partners, really smart people, don't try to just go out there and get them to believe in you and your idea. Go out there and find out what they think, and together start to create something. That is the way you break through. Same with customers. When you contact customers, don't just go to them and try to sell them some idea that you haven't even proven that they want. Go to them and start to be interested in their business. Hey, I want to ask you for advice. I want to find out like the problems you're having with your business. I want to, find out, what you're thinking of, because I think I can help you. And if you start to do this, not just alone, but with these other people you started to bring together, these really smart technology, I'm working with this amazing technologist that came out of my university or another university, and he's like brilliant in all these areas. We'd love to come in and talk to you about your business and how we could remake it, give you free consulting. All of a sudden they're like, well, these really smart young people who are up on technology want to come and brainstorm with me on how to make my business better. Well, that might be interesting. They're not trying to sell me something or anything. Then you're starting to engage with the customer. Think of what they how you can provide them value. How can you get them interested in what you're doing? How can you go to their problems, which they care about, not your problems, right? And engage with them on that level. You will be much more successful doing it that way. Okay, next question.
Even, yeah, I think I see Herman.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I have a question, a quick question concerning what would you not say when you're proposing a business plan?
So that's good. There's so many things that you shouldn't say. So the first thing is when you go to pitch, you're talking about pitching an investor, your business plan. I like to say, don't go in there with a predefined script of what you're going to say. Of course, it's good to practice your pitch, over and over and over, but go in there and have a conversation with the investor. Just like I said with the customer, go out there and engage the investor around your core ideas, but don't just go through a sales pitch. We all hate sales pitches, right? When we go into an auto dealer or a electronic shop and somebody just starts trying to sell us on something before knowing what, we really want or engage, asking us questions, our brain just turns off. So the best way when you pitch, first of all, I say a business plan. It's important to write a big business plan, like scope it out. But what investors want to see is an investor deck. That's like a quick little PowerPoint, maybe 10 to 15 slides that outline the main points of your business. Now, what investors don't need to know, this is really important. They don't need to know all the technical details of what you're doing. They don't care. Like technology, unless it's transformative technology that you've spent years developing, it probably isn't that relevant. They're not interested. They know there's technology out there that can probably do what you need to do. You just need to know there's technology. So if they ask you, what technology would you do? Oh, we would do this and this and this, but don't spend your time on that. Don't spend your time on a lot of time on the market size and market research. They know most of this. Like, they know if it's a big market or not. Like, investors are smart. So you spend a little time showing, yeah, this is a big market. We've done this research. But what investors are really interested in is what you have figured out. So the first thing they want to know is, have you met with your customers and have you figured out something that they desperately need? And are there a lot of customers like this? And that one thing, what is your solution? What are you giving your customers? What is your product or service? So if you do nothing else in your investor pitch, nothing, up front, right away, let them know who the customer is and what you're giving that customer. What is your product? What value would your product give to your customer that they aren't getting now from anybody else in the market? That's all they need to know. And if they don't get that right away up front, you can talk all you want about market research. You can show them all the hockey stick graphs of revenue growth and forecasting. You could talk all about, different deals you may have, and they still won't know what you do. So it won't matter. Like, they'll just be glazing over, like, what is your product again? Who is the customer? Those are the things they need to know. So if you're deviating too far from what is the product, who is the customer, until you nail that, nothing else matters in your business plan. Nail that first, and then go logically. Like, what's the next thing you need to talk to them about? Okay, we know the product, we know the customer. How big is the market? How big is the market? What is your business model? How much are you going to charge for this? How are you going to acquire more customers? How are you going to go out and get and bring them in? Very basic questions, kind of in that order, you start to layer on top of this. So in each of these, each slide of your 15-point PowerPoint presentation, and I give a whole talk on this, but you can get it on founderspace.com, but each slide should just make one point. Like, don't go into too much detail. Like, when you're pitching investors, keep it very simple. Simpler the better. They just want to understand. They're going to go deep later. They're going to go deep, they're going to have many discussions with you. But when they're first reviewing your stuff, they just need to grasp the main idea, the big idea. What is the customer? What is the product? How big can this be? If they walk away with that, then they'll engage further with you. If they don't get that, they don't get anything. If you're talking too much in detail about any of the other things, you're losing them. That's my answer.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I don't see
And I'll tell you one more thing. what not to say, don't say you're desperate for money. I've had entrepreneurs come up to me and say, if I don't get your money like next week, I'm going out of business. Well, I feel sorry for you, but the last thing I want to invest in is an entrepreneur that's about to go out of business. So don't say you desperately need their money or you're going out of business. Don't say, don't go off and, a lot of people, when they pitch entrepreneurs, they'll start trying to be friends with them. They'll bullshit about like, oh, do you love the Giants? The Giants are winning, blah, 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 blah. That's wasting their time. Like most investors, they have a limited amount of time. They may have allocated 15 minutes to spend with you, maybe at a networking event and they're giving you 5 minutes, maybe a pitch and they're giving you 45 minutes. Doesn't matter. They want to get to the meat. They are there to go through, their job is to go through as many startups as fast as possible. And don't waste their time. If you want to bond with them, if they like your idea, they're going to ask you back. If they ask you back, they're going to eventually ask you out to dinner, coffee, to chat with you because they want to know you. That's when you can do all that small talk. Don't do small talk. Initially, when you're approaching them, go for the heart of what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hoffman.
All right.
I think we're almost out of time now.
Yes.
3:57.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much again, Stephen. Captain
Sure.
Hoff. We are so privileged having you, and our program is winning these national awards because of people like you who are coming into our program and sharing this wonderful and amazing, valuable advice and information with our students. So we're very, very grateful.
My pleasure. It's wonderful meeting all of you. Hope to connect in real life, as everything opens back up, and see you all in person sometime.
Looking forward to hosting you again, Steve.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.